Hello and welcome to Pokésports, a competitive Pokemon podcast. I'm Mike and I play with one Pokemon on the field.
I'm Kevin. I play with two Pokemon on the field.
And today, I hope that everybody is staying safe. I hope that your hands are clean, your face is clean, your sheets are clean. Not a lot of people know that. Go wash your sheets too. Very important.
Oh, I didn't know that.
There you go. Yeah, very important. It is Sunday, March 15th, otherwise known as the Ides of March. Wait a second. There's a problem. Where is... There you are. Haha. It is otherwise known as the Ides of March, or National Red Nose Day. So look at that. If you're listening to us on Wednesday, it's National Awkward Moments Day.
Oh boy.
So let's make an awkward moment right now, Kevin, you and I.
Okay, let's just sit quietly.
This is a good podcast.
Okay, Mike. What was your most awkward moment playing Pokemon? Let's bring this back into topic here.
My most awkward moment playing Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you have one in the barrel there? You asked the question.
Oh yeah. Okay, fine. I got one. When the game first came out, I really wanted to try Psychic Surge in Ditto. So I was looking at all the move sets that Ditto has and like all the moves that it has. And I saw this nice move that I was like, oh, I mean, this move was good in past generations. Let me stick this on this in Ditto. That move was fake out. You can't fake out in Psychic Surge, Mike.
That's
so my first match with it, I used fake out first turn, and I was just like, oh, okay.
that has got to be the most awkward moment that I've ever had as well. I'm not gonna steal that answer, but yeah, forgetting about Psychic Surge and just anything prankster really has been a major awkward thing for me. No, you know what it was is dark typing, prankster and dark typing. That one has kind of messed with me. I usually feel the awkward moments when that happens. Not a big fan. Not a fan, let me tell you.
That's okay. I feel that one too.
Yeah. Big awkward moments are always order. Forgetting my speed tiers and seeing certain Pokemon go before other Pokemon, and I'm like trying to coordinate the two attacks to go in at the right timing, but then suddenly like my Indeedee goes before my Driftblim because like something happened that some quash or whatever. Big thing, big problem.
Actually, when I was first testing my Slurpuff in Indeedee,
oh yeah,
I forgot that I was scarfing my Indeedee, and then so ironically, even with the Unburden boost and everything, my Indeedee outsped my Slurpuff's fake tears.
I want to see. I want to see any kind of comments in the chat, or send us an email if you have ever forgotten to put only attacks on an assault vested Pokemon. Right there. Boom. Drop.
Or protect on a choice Scarfer.
Exactly. Protect. Super fast protect. My protect's going on before anybody else. I'm seeing a lot of people in our Twitch chat right now going off about last week's question, which actually I do kind of want to keep as this week's question, which was what needs to happen for Pokemon to become an esport. I feel like the answers to that have been amazing already. Keep on sending those in. Type !QOTD before your answer to leave those. But I also, if you would like to put in another question, just put !QOTD for your most awkward moment in Pokemon. All right. So type out your answers in the Twitch chat, and we'll be talking about those in a little bit. But let's get into the meat and potatoes of today's podcast.
This is an interesting episode because this was supposed to be something else. This was supposed to be our experience in Toronto regionals, but that's not happening.
We were supposed to have been there. And for any of you guys who who listen to the podcast but have not been watching us on YouTube at youtube.com/Pokésports, we just didn't go. We couldn't go. It was closed. Everything for the next little bit, has been canceled. 2019 was cancel culture, and it kind of seeped into 2020. 2020 is canceled, guys. Go home. Come back in 2021. Here's a list of some of the Pokemon tournaments that have been canceled. So we've got Mississauga or Toronto regionals, which was scheduled for March 15th or March 13th to 15th. We have the Charlotte regionals scheduled for March 20th to 22nd. We've got what's that? The Joinville M Santa
in Santa Carta.
All right.
I think that's Portuguese, Mike. Sorry.
Oh.
Catarina.
Scheduled for March 28th to 29th, and then Salt Lake City regionals, which were scheduled for April 4th to 5th. Those are all
canceled.
gone. So if you were thinking of going to any of those, or if you bought tickets for any of those, go see if you can get some money back. Just make sure that you don't go, because nobody will be there for you. Sorry.
Mm-hmm. And along with that, a lot of local events are also being canceled.
Yes.
So if you're sick like Mike, stay home.
That's true. Yeah, I've been sick for the past couple of days. I've confirmed it's not the thing. So it just so happened. Yeah, it's so awkward too.
It's
like
not the
National
thing.
Awkward Moments Day. It's so awkward to have gotten sick at this time with like this kind of timing. Because like, I usually get sick during March, during April. Like this is just sick period of time. There's a change of seasons. So to have that happen around the time where like everybody's on high alert for everybody else who's sick, you don't want that.
Hey, got a couple days off of work.
Yeah, that's been pretty sick. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Unironically, it's been pretty sick.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Oh, I hate you so much. The next online competition for Sword and Shield was announced, and this one oh man,
I got a couple
they're back.
questions here.
They're back, guys. Our single battles are back. The
About
extreme speed singles battles, which allow transferred Pokemon. Registration's open now. Competition starts on March 20th, ends on the 22nd. So that's this Friday,
Next
folks.
week.
Yeah. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. By this time next week, we'll have finished the extreme speed singles battles.
Oh, we should stream this, Mike.
Oh,
We're
absolutely.
gonna be stuck at home anyway. This sounds like fun. Keep an eye out. Twitch.tv/Pokesports podcast.
Exactly. Now, the extreme speed singles battles, the reason that they call it extreme speed, it has reduced turn and reduced battle times. Dynamax Pokemon are banned, which is pretty interesting. This allows transferred Pokemon. So we've got some good boys and girls in there. I haven't really taken a look at what Pokemon we have access to from the transfer Pokemon, but we're definitely going to be talking about those next week. You can do 15 battles a day. Go ahead.
I mean, Legends and Mythicals are still banned, though. Something to keep in mind. But I think you just don't need a Galar-bred Pokemon. So if you want to bring an old school Mon, like, so that means that Belly Drum Slurpuff is technically allowed to. Right?
We can bring Belly Drum Slurpuff.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's a thing.
Yeah, we can do it. Okay.
Let's make it happen.
All right.
Now I've piqued your interest.
Yes, you have. Now, not only are the Legends and Mythicals banned, but also Mimikyu and Sableye. And Kevin, I think you know why.
No, they're not banned. They're just threats.
Well, what do you mean? I thought they were.
They're
I thought
threats.
They were banned.
No, they're allowed.
Oh.
They're just threats because they're so darn good in like 1v1 scenarios. That's why I stuck them in there. Yeah, so Mimikyu, it's easy. You just kind of go for Swords Dance, take one hit, and then sweep with Swords Dance. But Sableye is the really fun one that I think is going to be super interesting. You can trick Choice Scarf onto a Pokemon, and then disable the move that they're locked into, and then win to struggle.
Oh, yeah, you know what? That's right. Oh, man, I had forgotten about that. That's
a fun one.
That's terrible. Ugh.
Only problem now is dark types.
Yeah.
You can't prankster those.
Yeah.
Feels bad.
Now, for those of you who are putting together your teams for the International Challenge, the April International VGC Challenge, the online one, and are hoping that there will be a prize akin to the ball guy shirt that you got at the end of the last one, and that you're going to be getting at the end of the next one. You won't be getting anything like that this time, unfortunately. You do get 50 BP for participating, but yeah, no shirts this time. So sorry.
I mean, it seems like fun anyway. This seems like a fun little thing to do while you're stuck at home.
Yeah.
What's interesting is why did they? I don't know if you guys saw the graphic for this, but in the graphic for this extreme speed singles battles, they included Barraskewda and Cramorant.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that has to do with anything.
I understand Barraskewda, it's fast.
Right.
But why is Cramorant there?
Because
is
of
that
the
pinnacle
missile?
of singles?
Because of the missile, I guess?
Oh, yeah, because it
What?
spits out Barracudas or whatever they're called.
Yeah.
Okay. But still.
Or Pikachus. Every now and then it does spit out a Pikachu.
Whenever it feels like it.
When it feels like it. Also in the news. Remember that?
That news.
Ugh. Also in the news, Picolytx and Babiri.net now link to each other.
Hey,
Yeah.
collaboration.
If you go to Picolytx.com or if you go to Babiri.net, there are little buttons on each one of the pages for each one of the Pokemon that will take you to the respective other site. So if you're on Picolytx and you're looking for Picolytx gives current usage stats and most popular sets, and Babiri.net gives usage over time and shifts in the meta. So if you want to, if you're looking at usage over time for, say, Togekiss, and you click on the little button that says View on Picolytx, it'll take you to Togekiss's Picolytx page. Likewise, if you go to Togekiss's Picolytx page and you want to see how it's been used over time, then you can go click on the button there and go and head over to Babiri.
Now, if you guys are team building anything, you want these two websites open.
Yes.
100%. So the fact that they link to each other now is just perfect.
Yeah. I mean, people were already doing this anyway, but now they just made it easier. So good job, Griffin and Kelvin, on making that collaboration work.
Kudos.
Okay. Also, we have a set for Zarude. Ooh.
Hey.
There are a lot of people out there making big videos on it. I don't really see how we can make a long talk about this, but we will tell you the set that we know. We do know that Zarude will have leftovers that you can get through a distribution. It'll have leftovers with Close Combat, Taunt, Power Whip, and Swagger. Now, I haven't seen Swagger in a little while, so
yeah,
that could be interesting. Now, for both Zarude and Celebi, which is the other Pokemon being distributed, a shiny Celebi at that. Ooh. Neither of those can be used in any kind of like OU game, or definitely not in any kind of VGC. Mythicals have been banned for forever.
Yeah.
But you can use those in Ubers. So if you're ever thinking of Ubers Pokemon to bring in, Zarude may be actually a Pokemon that you'd want to keep in mind.
Power Whip, Swagger, Taunt, Close Combat.
Yeah.
Why are those all kind of obvious?
Incredibly obvious. Well, okay, let's look at it like this. Zarude has those little vines, so obviously it's getting the Power Whip. Look at it like it's a straight up G, so obviously it's got the Swagger. It has arms, so it has Close Combat. I'm surprised that Celebi doesn't have Close Combat, to be honest.
Yeah, it has arms. Maybe you need longer arms.
Oh,
Mew has Close Combat.
Must have arms this long to use Close Combat.
There's a certain length. There's a minimum.
There's a sign. And then, of course, Taunt. It just looks like a taunting Pokemon.
It's a dark type, so it has
it's a
Taunt.
dark type, so it has Taunt. Yeah. But that's all that we have for the news this week. Still lots of Pokemon news. I feel like even though we're kind of out of the new game hype and into the okay, let's get down to business. Let's start and then cancel some regionals. We are at least seeing more things being pumped out into the content verse. So that's been pretty cool.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, even though these tournaments are all being canceled, it is giving people like a way to further prepare for these later tournaments that are hopefully going to happen. I guess we'll see how bad things get here. But yeah, I'm a little excited. Now, there's still a lot of things people can do while their tournaments are being canceled if you had other plans. One of them is the topic that we're going to be talking about after the break, which is breeding and in-depth breeding. We did a breeding episode already, but we're going to go into more subtle nuances with breeding because honestly, breeding is so complicated and so convoluted that it needs another look at it.
See, that's the thing. Once you've been doing it for a little while, like you don't really think of it too much. It just kind of becomes second nature. But for a lot of people, it is really difficult, and it's so kind of daunting that you don't get into it like ever. There are a lot of people
Yeah.
who are just like, I don't know how to make these Pokemon, so I'm not even going to try. A lot of people shy away from things like Trick Room or Egg Moves because they don't understand how to do it. So we're gonna
Mm-hmm.
explain that kind of stuff. And you know what? We're gonna do that shortly after we come back from this break. So we will see you in just a second. Welcome back to Pokésports. Yeah, we decided to have kind of an early break because we have quite a bit to talk about for the next little bit.
Mm-hmm.
We again, as I said before the break, there are a lot of people who have come to us saying, "Hey, can you kind of break down breeding specifically? Because I just don't get it. I don't understand how to really take my game to the next level and deal with the whole IVs and natures and this, that, and the other." So that is what we are going to do today. Now,
Was
I'm going to
go.
be saying some stuff that a lot of you may already know. All right, but it's important to go over all of the points for anybody who may be missing certain things. So, for those of you who think you know everything about breeding, just sit back and let me justify your knowledge. And for those of you who think that you might not know everything, pay attention. Before that, I want to let you know that our Patreon is kind of going through a new thing. If you're listening here and you head over to patreon.com/Pokesports podcast, you'll see a new goal that we have. This goal will allow us to start creating mid-month showdown tournaments. So tournaments for all of you guys to come in and play against each other, where we all chat and we all talk about our gameplay. Just ways to help make us all better as players in general. So again, if you go to patreon.com/Pokesports podcast, take a look at our tiers. We have lots of different tiers for any kind of patron that you would like to be. And we offer things all the way from joining us on a private Discord channel, all the way to, um, listening to extra podcasts, which we do, I believe, one of giving you early access to all of the podcasts that we create. As well as, even if you go way to the end of the spectrum there, one-on-one coaching, all stuff that we do.
Now, with the mid-month showdowns,
Yeah.
we're also going to be giving out like some prizes too, right?
Yes,
Sounds like fun.
absolutely.
And 20 patrons.
At 20 patrons, that's what's happening at 20 patrons.
Yeah.
Now then, Trick Room breeding. I'm going to say some stuff that a lot of you guys might already know, so listen closely. For Pokemon who want to work well in Trick Room, they often have to have 0 speed IVs. I think we know this. There are some times that you don't. There are some items now, like room service, that you don't necessarily need to have 0 speed IVs because there are ways for them to function outside of Trick Room. But if you have decided that your Pokemon would do better if it were less speedy, a way that you can make a Pokemon less speedy is to give it 0 IVs. Now, feel free to write into us if you have any experience otherwise, but in my experience, you only ever need either 0 or 31 IVs in any given stat. Would you agree with that, Kevin?
Yeah, especially since Hidden Power was removed. So there's really no need for 30s anymore.
That's true.
You used to need evens and odds, but now you just don't even.
That's right. To properly min-max that stat or any given stat, so you have 6 different ones to deal with. You got your HP, your speeds, your speed, your attacks, your attack and special attack, and then your defenses. To properly min-max that, you often want to hit the 0 speed IV number like exactly. You don't want to have 1 or 2 or 3. And the one way that you can figure that out is by beating the game. Once you beat the game, you unlock the judge feature, where you can make sure that the speed is 0 by seeing inside your stats that it says no good. Now, every time you breed a Pokemon, it passes down certain IVs. And so um,
Mhm.
unless you are holding, hold on, let me take a step back here because I really want to make sure that I get this right. So when you're breeding two different Pokemon together, the child that comes from the two of them will have a random selection of IVs. Now, if you
Mhm.
want to make sure that certain IVs stick to that child Pokemon, you're going to want to give them certain items. Now, for the sake of this explanation, um, I'm going to be talking about Ryehorn to Rhyperior, which we can see on the screen right now. Now, Trick Room is famously tough to breed for because it adds a new step. Uh, Typically, the way that you want to do it is you breed for the best IVs, then you give a Pokemon a Destiny Knot for it to hold 5 of the 6 IVs that it passes down, because that's what Destiny Knot does. That 6th IV is always going to be randomized. So if that 6th IV becomes like a really good IV that you want to be using, then you switch that out with the parent and this, that, and the other. But Trick Room. Um, in Pokemon Sword and Shield, they made everything about breeding easier,
Mhm.
except for making a Trick Room Pokemon. Um, if you know anything about breeding from scratch, you know that it takes the best two parents, with the female being the Pokemon that you want. Uh, in this case would be Ryehorn. You slap a Destiny Knot on one of them, you slap an Everstone on the other, you breed the new one, and then you replace the parent with the new one if it has better stats, and you rinse and repeat until you have the best IVs on the egg Pokemon. Now, it works differently in Trick Room. If you want to get 0 speed IVs, you have to give the male Pokemon with a 0 speed IV a power anklet. There it is. A power anklet, which the power anklet ensures that the 0 IV is passed down to the child. And then the female you would just kind of replace again as you get more babies, essentially. You can actually replace the male as well.
Mhm.
Now, the reason on screen why I have a Venusaur and a Rhyhorn is because egg groups are a thing. You can have two Pokemon who are within the same egg group actually make an egg. The female will be the one that's passed down. So if you're breeding a male Venusaur, as I have on screen, with a female Rhyhorn, which I have on screen, it will create a female Rhyhorn. There it is.
And they don't always make sense, so make sure to look it up because Skitty and Wailord can breed. They don't always make sense. So
No,
keep
no, they
that in
don't.
mind.
Skitty and a Wailord, eh? Jeez. So, I mean, great. You breed with the power anklet on one Pokemon. You end up with a 0 speed IV Rhyhorn. That's step one. What's next? Well, you have two options, right? The first is you can use bottle caps on through hyper training, which you get access to at the end game. Bottle caps will set the IV of whatever you select it to be to max, or you can use a gold bottle cap to select, all of them. But you don't want to do that actually because you have the speed that you want to keep at 0. So unless you're looking to get a fully IV'd Pokemon, don't want to use a gold. The next uh, the next option, so that's your first option, just bottle caps. The next option is to involve this guy. This guy's Ditto. Now, Ditto's kind of unique, as you can kind of have it as either parent, and it'll create the Pokemon that you're breeding it with. If
Hardest working Pokemon in the
It's
game.
the hardest working Pokemon in the game. If you happen to have a Ditto with at least 4 IVs, 4 max IVs, so 4 IVs at 31, that are not speed, and in this case for Ryehorn, is not special attack, um, then you can breed it with your 0 speed IV Ryehorn, the child from the earlier example. You can give the other one a Destiny Knot. You can give an Everstone to the Ryehorn if it's the nature that you want, or take the Everstone away and just keep breeding until you get the nature that you want, or just use a mint. And then you'll have yourself a perfect Ryehorn.
Now, the only thing that makes breeding for a Trick Room Pokemon a little bit more difficult is you have to first start with the speed before anything.
Yeah.
That means that if you're starting from scratch, like this is a caught from the wild Ryehorn with crazy IVs everywhere and a docile nature, then you're gonna have to start by actually getting that lowest speed stat first, because you can't essentially work towards improving the other IVs until you fix that speed stat with the Destiny Knot on, say, a Ditto, because if you have the Everstone, you can only use 2 items at a time, right?
Yeah.
So you can't have a Power Anklet, a Destiny Knot, and an Everstone going at all at the same time. So you just have to try to cycle through those until you get what you want, or you can just ignore the Everstone entirely and get a mint on. And that's pretty much it.
And again, like that's one of the ways that I say that, like, Sword and Shield really, really buffed breeding this generation with those mints. Oh my gosh, you don't have to worry about Everstones at all. So you can just go for the whole Destiny Not Power Anklet thing and end up with a perfect 0 IV'd Pokemon. Now, if you have a Ditto with 0 speed IVs, you have basically set your Trick Room already.
Your life is easy.
Your life is so easy. If you have a perfect 6 IV Ditto with 31 through HP, through your attacks and through your defenses, but with 0 for speed, that's perfect. That's incredible. Incredibly rare, but also incredible. However, thankfully, I will say that this Ryehorn or Ryehorns in general don't have any egg moves that you'd need. If you need egg moves, that's a whole different thing that we'll have to get into another time, because there's a whole thing about egg moves where you have to breed it with another Pokemon of the same egg group, and you have to learn about what kind of attacks they have. Like, it's a whole thing.
Sometimes there's many tiers to egg moves. Like, you need to breed two Pokemon that aren't the Pokemon that you want just to get it on a Pokemon that you want, and then breed that over to another Pokemon, and then breed that to the Pokemon that you want.
Yeah.
Just to get those egg moves. But thankfully, once you do it once, you don't have to do it again, because you can just teach them to Pokemon just by putting them next to each other in the daycare.
And thankfully, I mean, that was something that you had to do a lot more in Gen 7 and before. But now that TRs are a thing, there were a lot of TRs that were previously just egg moves for a lot of Pokemon. Or even some Pokemon just didn't have access to, and so they weren't coded. So it's pretty nice. Also, good to know that if you are looking for a Ditto with proper IVs, proper IVs. One of the big ways that we did it, and one of the big ways that a lot of people do it, are Den Pokemon. Den Pokemon have a chance of having perfect IVs. The higher the star rating, the more max IVs it could have. So if you're going for a 5-star Ditto raid, which I'm sure if you've played in the what's the multiplayer forest in the middle there?
Wild area.
In the wild area, thank you. I was thinking the raid area. Jeez. If you're playing in the wild area, you've probably seen a bunch of 5-star Ditto raids popping up. There are ways to kind of game your dens to always put in the right Ditto, and that involves like changing the date within your Switch or whatever. But if you ever see one of those and it's open, jump in, because you never know what kind of Ditto you're gonna get. Or if you want to go and set up some Ditto raids, look up online where you can find big Dittos. And
Lake of Outrage, I believe.
Yeah, something like that.
I could be wrong.
It's like behind a big bush.
Yeah, you got to like float somewhere, and you'll get there eventually.
Right.
But yeah,
and that's how you get your Ditto, and that's Trick Room breeding. It's a little. Oh, I just did a little spoiler. Trick Room breeding is a little complicated, a little convoluted, and the use of that Power Anklet, that like before I learned how to do it, I had no idea that you were able to pass down a 0 speed IV using just a power Anklet. Apparently, all of the power items pass down different IVs.
So if you're a perfectionist like me, then you guys know what to do. Got to get that zero attack IV on special attackers. There's no other way.
You just gotta. Now, our spotlight, which some of you guys had already seen, has a little to do with what I just talked about. In fact, it was one of the Pokemon that I already shown, but we've already talked about Rhyperior, so it's not that one. But I'm going to segue into it as best as I can through narrative. Rhyperior is tough to deal with. It helps, though, to have a strong Pokemon who can do 4 times effective damage to it, preferably one that damages from, or the one that benefits from weather, which takes away any kind of sandstorm that Max Rockfall would bring up. Basically, that will be water or grass. Water has rain, grass has sun, grass also has Venusaur. Venusaur is today's Pokemon spotlight. Yeah.
Beautiful, Mike.
I did it. Venusaurs typically run the held item wide lens to hit those sleep powders with incredible accuracy. Has the ability Chlorophyll with 252 speed IVs, 4 special defense EVs, I should say. I've got IVs on the brain. 252 special attack EVs, 4 special defense EVs, and 252 speed EVs with a modest nature. They will usually run the moves Sleep Powder, Energy Ball, Sludge Bomb, and Protect, with potential replacement moves being Earth Power and Giga Drain. Now,
or Weather Ball.
Yes, Weather Ball is another big one. Weather Ball, a fantastic move that becomes, what is it, fire in the sun?
Yeah. Spicy.
So giving Venusaur even more coverage that Earth Power and the Poison and Grass already have. So.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of Venusaur sets lying around in the Battle Stadium recently. This is like the most common one, but there's also been like Dynamax Venusaur sets that will go just like 4 straight attacks with an Assault Vest. They'll just Dynamax, either boost their special defense with Max Quake or boost their special attack with Max Ooze. And then, they also have the option to self-set. Or I guess it's not a self-set because Weather Ball isn't technically up. But, they have that Fire Stab while in the sun on top of that. So that means Pokemon like Durant don't threaten them anymore. It's a scary thing.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the thing.
What I've
like,
had the most trouble with.
You have to kind of worry about Pokemon like Durant. But to have a Venusaur that kind of has coverage against that, it's a good Pokemon.
And outspeeds it in the sun.
Yeah, that Chlorophyll is actually nothing to gawk at there. You having that extra speed on such a powerhouse with as good defenses and HPs that it already has, it's really good.
And the reason we run Modest here is because we're already so fast we don't need Timid.
Yeah, no, exactly. So that's Venusaur. Venusaur is a good Pokemon. Use it on your teams. It's getting a Gigantamax later, so we'll have to see if that's any good. If that makes the grass, the G-Max grass move, like something different than Max Overgrowth, that could be really awesome.
I was just about to ask, what do you think it's going to be, Mike? I've heard a couple online.
Yeah. What have you heard?
What they think it's going to be? People are saying that maybe the Kanto starters are just going to have a triad with like similar to what Charizard has. It just does damage over time, but with Grass Stab instead. But the one that I'm in favor for, I want to see an auto set of Swamp, which is what happens when you use Water Pledge and Grass Pledge together. It lowers the enemy's side of the field, but it lowers their speed and then gives you health back. It's some funky stuff. Water Pledge moves. I know you don't know anything about Pledge moves because like you're a singles guy. You play with one Pokemon on the field, but yeah, Pledge moves are a thing. Hold on, I gotta look this up.
What? If Grass Pledge and Water Pledge are used in the same turn, the ally moving second will use Grass Pledge with a power of 150 and create a swamp on the target side of the field for 4 turns. This swamp quarters the speed of all Pokemon on that side.
Quarters?
Of the field.
Oh, it's even worse than I thought.
Whoa.
Jeez. That's a -4.
That's like an Aurora Veil kind of thing. So if they made G-Max Lapras, they might make G-Max Venusaur's move a thing.
It's time to go to the swamp.
It's time to go to the swamp.
Everyone's gonna name their Venusaur Shrek, dude. If that
Get out of here. Get out of here. All right. Let's move on to the QR corner. The QR corner, of course, is the place where you can scan either on the screen right now, the QR code on the left to go to our review page on Apple Podcasts, or the QR code on the right to go to our email, where you can send us an email at pokesportspodcast@gmail.com. Today, we have 3 super quick QR corners. One from Apple Podcasts, Dutchmaster. Dutchmaster is a very easy one to pronounce. Why'd I have trouble with that? Great meta discussion, he says. Thank you. Great podcast to hear some different opinions and keep up to date with the current meta. Different opinions. Kevin, do you think we're controversial?
Maybe towards the beginning we were. We were trying to say Toxtricity and Frostmoth were really good.
That's true. Were we really? Yeah.
But
and then we fell into the meta really hard. Now we're like, oh, Rhyperior is pretty good.
He could also be talking about when we had our discussion with Moxie Boosted about Thievul. That's another thing
true.
too.
That's true. Thievul was a very good one.
You can make anything work.
Mm-hmm.
Dynamax exists for that reason. So you could stick weakness policy on a trap pinch and go to town.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for the compliment.
Thank you for the review. Yeah. From Great Britain even. So hello to the UK. Apera says to us via Gmail, hey, just wanted to say I really enjoyed the latest episode. This was in reference to, I believe, Moxie Boosted. The guest was great and the meta discussion was awesome. Would love to see more guests like this. Well, I will tell you guys in the chat right now, and you guys here on Wednesday, or anybody listening to the podcast, that we do actually have a new episode of Pokesports Plus where we speak with different people from the Pokemon space, with Rosemary Kelly, the caster from Oceania Regional, from Oceania Internationals, and a bunch of other esports events, talking about the meta, talking about casting, talking about the kind of road to being professional within the Pokemon space. So check that out on Spotify. If you're listening to us live right now, that's coming out tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. So you should be able to catch that wherever you get your podcasts or on YouTube, because now we're starting to put Pokesports Plus on YouTube. So thanks, Apera.
And in terms of the guests that we have on our podcast, we choose our guests in a way with you guys in mind. We want to choose guests that we think you guys will be interested in, and that just have good things to say about the Pokemon community, have very informational, is that a word?
Yeah,
I don't know, Mike.
Is a word. Yeah.
There you go. It is now. You heard it here first.
It was always.
But yeah, we try to choose guests that we think you guys are going to like. So the fact that you guys do like it makes us happy.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing something right.
And then Ryan, or Lanthanas, via Gmail as well, says, I've enjoyed the many different segments that you guys have come up with, and I've listened to almost all of your casts on Podcast Addict. I've never heard of it. I guess it's on that. Over 3 days.
You don't even know what we're on.
Hey, dude, you know what? There's some, listen, okay. So there's some podcast platforms that like pull from RSS from like Spotify or Apple Podcasts or whatever. So like I don't put them on all of them specifically, which is why I don't actually know when a podcast isn't on a platform, because I don't know if I'm supposed to add it manually or not. So if you are like using a podcast platform, and thank you for setting me up for this, Kevin, if you're using a platform that Pokesports is not on, let me know and I will make sure it gets there. Anyway, via Gmail says, I've listened to almost all of your podcasts on Podcast Addict over the 3 days. I drive trucks for work. Ooh. As someone trying to break into competitive, I'd love to see a segment like the Spotlight that focuses on underused Pokemon that are good for specifically countering the meta teams. Maybe you could call it Counter Corner or something breaks the meta. Insert Pokemon breaks the meta. Interesting.
Yeah, I like that.
That's a good idea.
You're giving me ideas. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I'm using Slurpuff right now, so
tell me about that. Now, why has Slurpuff been good? Why is it good?
Okay. The reason why I use Slurpuff is because Slurpuff has access to Unburden, which means you can unburden Psychic Seed.
Right.
And the reason why Unburdened Psychic Seed is so good is because you can pair it next to Mailin Didi, and you don't need priority. You can't use priority moves in Psychic Surge. So by being super fast, you kind of negate the need for priority moves because nothing's gonna outspeed you anyway. So what makes Slurpuff really good is that you get access to things like Cotton Spore, which will lower the target's speed by 2. You get access to Fake Tears, lowers their special defense by 2. You get access to Charm, lowers their attack by 2. So there's a lot of things you can do here, especially when you're going against dark types, because normally you can't prankster dark types. You can't prankster Fake Tears them and then go for the Indeedee attack. But since you're unburdened and don't have prankster, you can use these moves very quickly, outspeed your Indeedee, and then an Indeedee with max Mindstorm, Life Orb in Psychic Terrain, plus the -2 that Slurpuff is dishing out to the target, that's almost an OHKO every time.
Not even bad.
Yeah.
Now,
so that's my thought process. You can make anything work.
The reason, like you, so basically, Slurpuff is like the Indeedee enabler.
Yes.
This time
and
around.
Indeedee's the one-shotter.
Before, Belly Drum Slurpuff used to be a thing. Belly Drum play rough with Unburden. So you'd use Belly Drum. You'd have the citrus on the Slurpuff. Unburden would trigger, and then you have double your speed with 4 times attack, which is nuts. It was scary in singles, and that's why we mentioned over in the extreme speed singles battles, like it's something that you might want to consider using because you might see it here or there, or you might catch people off guard if people have forgotten about it.
Yeah, because it technically doesn't get Belly Drum this generation, but if you can use Transfer Mons, then it's good to go.
And it's got it. Now, I don't actually know if when you transfer a Pokemon over, if it keeps its moves.
Well, if that's the case, then don't use Slurpuff.
Yeah. So, I mean, don't quote me on that, but if you can get a Slurpuff in your game with Belly Drum, absolutely do it.
Yeah.
Now, earlier in the podcast, we asked 2 questions. We said, question 1, what can we do to make Pokemon an esport? What needs to happen to make Pokemon an esport? And then after that, we asked our second question, which was, what was your most awkward moment in Pokemon? We have some answers for that. In the category of the answers for what we need to do to make Pokemon an esport, one of the answers was more support from TPCI, the Pokemon company. The competitive aspect really feels like it's sitting on the back burner. I agree. Yeah. And I think a lot of people would agree with that.
Yeah, that's been a big one. Even when we talk to professional players and people in the field, they would also say, yeah, it needs support for sure. Another big one that a lot of people do mention is content creation is so important when it comes to spreading awareness on Pokemon. And if Pokemon can support content creators, then even more so, because they're just going to keep wanting to push the game that they're playing. And, eventually it just starts to stagnate. Well, not stagnate. It starts to build up on each other. The content creators are pushing the players to play the game. The players are pushing the content. The creators continue pushing the content. So it's just there's a lot of things missing, but I feel like we've said this 1,000 times. It's in the right direction, thankfully.
Yeah. I think it's finally kind of getting that way. And I like that. Another answer is, first, I think they need to tweak some of the luck factor, most notably crit chance. What do you think about that, actually, Kevin? Tweaking crit chance.
I feel like every competitive game has a little bit of luck, right? Because everyone loves that comeback from behind type thing, that one flinch that, turns the whole game around. To make a game completely competitive, you have to remove all chances of luck, quote unquote, but that will not make it spectator friendly. So by removing that luck, you're also hindering the spectatorship, which doesn't enable it as an esport, because an esport requires it to be spectator friendly.
You know what? I'm going to go on the other side of that. I'm going to say that if you do take out crit, I think it can make sense if you don't take out anything else. If you take out crit and you keep in parachance or flinch chance or that kind of stuff, I'm trying to think about other games and how it works there. Like if you think of League of Legends or any other kind of MOBA games, they do have a crit chance built into the game, and it does work. Um, but the game is so fast paced that crit chance is not really seen as a big factor in what you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
unless you're kind of building a build that goes toward it or tries to counter it. Now, if you think about a game like on the inverse of that, Hearthstone, I cannot imagine a world where crit chance is built into the game. If you're going with a 5 attack minion into a 10 attack or a 10 health minion, you're going at it for 5 HP. You expect that to always do 5 damage every single time. And if it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't do 5 damage, then you will know based on its ability or any other cards that you have on the field why it's not, or why it's doing more or why it's doing less. If there was just a built-in mechanic in the game that would double the Pokemon's attack and just like double the minion's attack and take out the other minion, I think a lot of people would be cursing RNG a lot more than they are for unnecessary reasons. I don't think that game needs crit.
I think.
Mhm.
Oh,
No,
finish.
go ahead. Go ahead.
I think that with Pokemon, they've already been nerfing crit to the point where it's not as oppressive right now. And although it is annoying when it happens, if there's no crit chance in the game, then what's stopping a Pokemon from just going for Cotton Guard twice and then you not being able to KO it at all? You having 0 chance of winning that game.
That is
And
true.
you just have to sit here and tickle it for 17 turns. Like
that is a good point. So I
it
guess
is
then,
the counter to tanks.
I guess it goes back to your point of like, if you don't have crit, then you need something else to deal with all of the terrible stuff that also happens in Pokemon. Um, like if you up your defense and up your special defense, you need a kind of attack that penetrates that. You need more unaware Pokemon. Yeah, I don't know.
It's an interesting question.
That's an interesting question. There's no
there's
good
no
answer.
right answer.
There's no right
Yeah.
answer, but yeah, good point. The second part to that question was so they need to tweak luck chance and secondary effects on good moves like Thunderbolt having a paralysis chance. Thunderbolt having a para chance is actually a good example. That one is it feels real bad when you get a paralysis off of or when you get paralyzed off of the Thunderbolt. That sucks.
What's the chance of it? Is it
10?
It's high too, right? Oh, it's
Isn't
10. Okay, I thought it was 30.
I thought that
Okay,
was.
good.
I think that one's Thunder. Let me look up Thunderbolt Pokemon. Thunderbolt Pokemon. You have a
No, yeah, it's
10%. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then Thunder is the question.
Yeah, those
Thunder.
all feel really bad to be honest. um but yeah, it's like I said, getting that chance, it's like as much as you hate it, and I hate hacks more than anybody else.
Thunder can't
And
paralyze.
no,
Not
okay.
anymore.
It can miss.
Oh yeah, Thunder can miss.
Like I hate hacks more than the next guy.
Mm-hmm.
Would I like it if it disappeared? Probably for a month, and then I probably wouldn't play Pokemon again.
Oh, that's fair. You think that
'Cause-
that's bad enough for you to quit Pokemon? That makes it boring enough for you to quit Pokemon?
Gambles are fun, aren't they? That's why people gamble, right?
That's why people come back. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the whole chance factor.
Mm.
The fact that I don't know. There's like some psychological reason behind it as to why it makes Pokemon so addictive. Because if you lose because of hacks, your mindset isn't I'm done with this game, I'm gonna put it down. Your mindset is, okay, I can, at least my mindset, maybe you guys have a different mindset. My mindset is, okay, I lost that because of hacks, it's not because of me.
Yeah.
I can play another one and do better.
That's exhilarating.
But people look at things differently. Or like you have that, nothing feels better than getting that one flinch that wins you a game you were supposed to lose. Let's be honest.
100%. 100%.
That's like the best feeling in the world.
Yeah. Big shout out to Stark Maximum in the chat. Says Thunder's additional effect is can miss.
Can miss.
It's a good one. I like that. Last question of the day. Last question of the day for how to make Pokemon an esport, and then we'll get really, really quick into most awkward moments. says, make an in-game genetic modification center where you can change IVs, EVs, abilities. I don't know why they make it so hard to make battle-ready Pokemon. Yes, that was a thing that they kind of changed about it this season. I was gonna say this not series, this game, this generation. They made it a little bit easier, but it's definitely not there yet.
You want to know my ideal scenario?
I want to know your ideal scenario.
That will never happen, but it is what I want to happen so bad.
Mm-hmm.
Have a game that's just called competitive Pokemon.
Okay.
No gimmicks, nothing. And that game is just meant for online battling, kind of like a MOBA, but for kind of like Hearthstone. You just get on, you battle people, and then that's all. That's the whole game. Have that game include every single Pokemon. I know I'm literally explaining Pokemon Showdown right now.
Yes, you are.
Just have that exist, but on a console, and then I don't know, let the kiddies play the story mode in like a separate game, and have that keep getting updated. And then just have all the
story mode when I want to.
Yeah, like I don't want to play through the story mode. I just want to play battles, Mike.
Yeah, no, exactly.
But I want pretty pictures when I play battles. I don't want my Gmax taking the whole screen like it does on Showdown. But yeah, I don't know.
That. All right. Well,
that's my thought process.
Yeah,
that'd be nice.
I'm gonna leave that last question up to the people. Actually, the question of what is your most awkward moment in Pokemon? So, send us an email, send us a tweet, either at Pokesportspod or at Pokesportspodcast@gmail.com with your most awkward moment in Pokemon. So maybe it's a interaction that happened in a game. Maybe you forgot something. Maybe your opponent forgot something and it was really bad for you somehow. Drop us a note. We want to hear from you. That's it for Pokesports today. Kevin, where can people find you?
Twitch. No, not Twitch. Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. X-Rays Ovation. I actually uploaded a video the other day.
Oh, there you go.
I'm probably going to be uploading Animal Crossing too. Wink, wink.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Are you like really into Animal Crossing?
Not at all.
Oh.
That's why I think it's going to be enjoyable.
Cool. People can find me at Instagram and Twitter at StillJustMike, and you can find the podcast anywhere you find Pokesports. So follow us on Spotify, rate, review, subscribe on Apple Podcasts. Go to youtube.com/Pokesports, subscribe to us there. Send us an email to pokesportspodcast@gmail.com or go to Patreon to check out our tiers and to see our new goal that we have set up. Make sure you send us those questions for next week. We're going to be talking about them on the podcast. Wow, did you just put that sticker on?
Nah, I got tape. I'm not wasting my sticker on my head, Mike.
God, I was going to say.
Go to YouTube to see what we're talking about.
Exactly. You got to check this out. Now you have to look at the video version. All right. Well, with that said, I hope everybody has a fantastic week, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.